What's happening, people? Welcome back to the Scarfey Spurs Talk Podcast. On this episode, we'll be talking all things Tottenham, transfers, cup draws, including the Carabao Cup, third round draw, the Champions League draw for the new league phase. Also be previewing Bournemouth this weekend in the Premier League for game week 3. So let's go through and introduce tonight's panel. Firstly, Matt, your debut on the podcast. Thank you so much for coming on. Talk to people a little bit, about you and what you do.
Sure thing. Thanks for having me here. My accent will be different than everybody else's, as you can already tell. I am about as smack in the middle of the United States as you can get here in Lincoln, Nebraska. Been a Spurs fan probably a lot less, time than the rest of you all, but, for 5-6 years now, been following them, watching them every Saturday, Sunday, Monday, midweek, whatever. Basically, I work in the sports field. I actually work for Spotlight Sports Group, stateside work over there. Just general sports commenter, trying to get a soccer blog of my own up and going here. But yeah, that's basically my story.
Oh, fantastic stuff. Love that. Sounds absolutely fantastic. So thank you for joining us this evening from America. So thank you, Matt. Ian, thank you very much for coming on. I believe you're joining us from Spain. Is that right? And how are you doing?
Yeah, buenas tardes, todos mis amigos. Yeah, absolutely. Fabulous. It's warm. I'm sitting out here. I do have a glass of Rioja as well, but plenty of water to stay hydrated. And today has been, in fact, the last 24 hours or so with the League Cup draw, Champions League draw. I think Simmons must be very close. We'll talk about that, no doubt. I think today is a pretty good day to be a Spurs supporter.
I think it is, but let's not jinx it. We've still got a few hours to go for the rest of the day. But hey ho. Thank you, Ian, for joining us, though. What better, lovely sunny weather in Spain and talking Tottenham. What more could you ask? Maybe a Simmons.
Absolutely.
Here we go.
Absolutely
exactly
right.
That. Thank you very much. And Nige, welcome back onto the podcast. How you doing, mate? And again, remind people a bit about you and the amazing stuff you do.
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me on. Big up to all the panel. Big up to the chat. Yeah, I got Pure COYS TV. Had it for about a year now. Just hit 1,000 subs a couple of weeks ago. So, yeah, excited for the season. And like a typical Brit, I am in my pajamas with a nice hot cup of tea. So, happy days.
Lovely stuff. That's what we like. It sounds very, very good. Absolutely jealous. Thank you very much, Nige, for joining us. And Travis, welcome back onto the podcast. How are you doing? And again, remind people about what you do.
Yeah, really well, thank you, Harry. Absolutely delighted to be back on. First and foremost, I just want to say a huge congratulations to you for your fantastic GCSE results. Always knew you'd do well. So, yeah, massive well done for that. Yeah, you can find me, I will obviously explain more towards the end, but you can find me on LinkedIn where I do a lot of work on men's mental health and obviously cancer research at the moment. Yeah, and obviously a regular on here, which I thoroughly enjoy. So, yeah, thank you for having me back on with a wonderful set of guests.
No, thank you very much. Firstly, thank you very much for your kind words. It's very kind of you. And secondly, and again, amazing work. So thank you for coming on here and talking about that. And, we always make time for things like that and the amazing stuff you do. So, Travis, really appreciate it for coming on. But thank you to all of you. And thank you to everyone who's listening. We'll be live on YouTube. If you are, please do get involved, like and subscribe. If you listen after on a podcast platform, please do drop us a follow and a 5-star review. All good stuff. And check out our current partners in the Kitman UK, looking to expand our partners this year. A couple of talks in the pipeline, so please stay tuned for that. But let's get straight into it. And I want to start with transfers. We've talked a lot of transfers this week, so don't get too much into it. There's one name I do want to focus on that's done the rounds in the last few hours because ever evolving in the transfer window, especially when Tottenham are involved and leave stuff late. And it is Xavi Simmons that I do want to talk about. So, if we haven't seen it today, it's been heavily linked to Tottenham. It looks like now from several reports that I'm going to generalise here that Tottenham are in pole position. We put that offer in. We're now actually maybe even ahead of Chelsea, like I said, that pole position, which is very, very key. We've gone from at the start of the day being outsiders to being ahead. That's quite significant. Would you say, Ian? And do you think we can get the player over the line?
Yeah, I think if you take the last 4 weeks out of the scenario, everybody's saying this is a done deal. This is an absolute done deal. But I think everybody's confidence has been totally shaken by the failure to get Morgan Gibbs-White, which was, I think, a set of circumstances that I'm a lot older than you guys. I suspect any two of you put together ages wouldn't match me. I've never seen a situation like this, particularly where a player appears to have been coerced. I'll be careful, coerced into signing a new contract in the way he was by his current owner. Well, that was a weird situation. I think we got played on the Eze situation, and I think that if we want to talk about Levy, I think it's one of his terrible weaknesses is this inability to get a deal over the line, whether it's haggling, whether it's this or whether it's that. Whether he's actually, for someone who seems to be so aware that he's a little bit naive. I mean, streetwise is probably the word I should have used, and yet he's really naive when it comes to getting deals done. And it's really a matter of saying that this is the deal. It is open until 5 o'clock tomorrow night, failing which we will walk away. And we could talk about that with the Simmons deal. It appears that Chelsea are looking at other targets. They're looking at they've signed or they're about to sign Garnacho. That appears to be a done deal. That's fine. He's a player I'd have been interested in, but I think he's a risk if you're looking at one budget. I think they're also, by all accounts, looking at Lopez, that his name, at Barcelona, and that would appear to be their principal target. So again, all the indications are that Simmons is no longer a priority target for them. And with that, it seemed to move quite quickly last night and this morning. But the player was given permission. The press release from Leipzig said he's been given a couple of days out to go and sort out his future. We know he's come to London. We know he's met with our representatives. I'm genuinely hoping that there's a medical going on now, or there's things going on now, and it's going to be, they're all keeping quiet. I love it when things are kept quiet, because that tends to be when we do our best business. And there will be maybe even an announcement before we go off air. If, however, I'm wrong about that, and there are other clubs in the mix, there was talk, I think probably rubbish, about Arsenal maybe coming in because of the injury to Saha. Havertz has had surgery apparently, but they don't expect it to be a long time. That doesn't seem to be very credible. But if that situation were to come about, then as a negotiator, you simply say, you're here. If you want to leave and go and talk to other clubs, fine. Our offer is withdrawn. We cannot allow ourselves to be pushed around. We are a big club. We're a huge club. Granted, Arsenal may be a bigger club than us, but Chelsea in my lifetime has spent a fair bit of time in the old second division. It's only with Russian money, now American money, that they become the club that they are. But if you don't want to play for this club, go away. But you simply say, this is the offer. It's on the table now. If you want to walk away and talk to other people, bye. And that's where we've got to get tougher in our negotiating stance. Personally, I don't think that will happen. And I expect Simmons to be a Tottenham player within the next 18 hours or so.
Lovely. Absolutely love that optimism. So I'm going to read some latest news before I get to the rest of the panel. I should have done that at the start, so apologies. Just going to read some that come to me here. So the Standard Sport at the start of the day reporting that Xavi Simmons is no longer a priority for Chelsea. Chelsea are instead focusing on deals for Fermin Lopez and Alejandro Garnacho. Sun Football report that Xavi Simmons wants 200 grand a week to complete a transfer away from RB Leipzig this summer. That salary would make him Tottenham's joint highest earner with Christian Romero. Sky Sports report, this is via Foreign Platterberg, that an agreement between Leipzig and Tottenham is seen now as a matter of time. RB Leipzig demands 70 million euros, including add-ons. No decision for now. It's up to Xavi and any potential Chelsea movement. Then Alistair Gold via Football London said that Tottenham sense an opportunity and are believed to have verbally offered a sum close to £60.4 million that Leipzig are looking for. That's been done with the hope that a deal will get done and those Chelsea fears will be shut down. Give me Sports Day that the Xavi Simons saga won't go on forever, because the understanding is that Leipzig have only authorised the player to be in London for 48 hours. So like Ian was saying, just for those 2 days, and they're quite prepared to pay Simons over the weekend. If nothing happens, he just come back and feature for them on the pitch. And what else we got? Not much other things. Fabrizio Romano said that Chelsea's focus is still on Simons and not Lopez. So let's see if Xavi waits for Chelsea or not. So Fabrizio Romano saying there that actually it is for Chelsea still a priority for Xavi Simons. That's a little bit of a turn here. But generally the feeling is that Tottenham are in a lot healthier position than they were at the start of the day. Matt, can I come to you? Do you believe we can beat Chelsea to the signature of Xavi Simons?
I think it all depends on how willing Levy is to go that extra 10 mil. He seems to have been 10 million short on about 7 different players so far this window, which is a bit disappointing given, he was on interviews all summer talking about how good the books are at Tottenham and how financially secure we are, and yet you can't scrape up an extra 10 mil to go get guys to fill holes. I mean, we just saw if the Champions League draw doesn't give you the idea that, hey, if we get an extra guy in here or two, that we can make it a run in this thing, because the draw we got, as we'll talk about later, isn't one of the harder ones by a long shot. So we'll see. I mean, if he wants Chelsea, then if the money's even, I would assume he would pick Chelsea. Which is a bit disappointing because I don't know how many more players they need. But I did see that Newcastle is now working on a deal with Fermin Lopez. So that might be why Chelsea is now trying to pivot and come back to Simons, which would not be good for us. But yeah, it all comes down to if Levy can go, I don't know, maybe go shake his couch cushions and come up with that extra $10 million to make the deal done. But it's, again, you said, they're willing to do it for 70 million, and he comes in at 60.4. Like, why are you trying to lowball? Just give up the funds. Like, I don't know. He's trying to win every negotiation possible, and at some point you just can't do that. You just have to pay what the guy is worth to get him on your team, to help your team make the money over the long run by having that extra player and going farther into tournaments and finishing higher in the table. So I feel like we're in the same spot with him as we've been on for every transfer this summer.
No, I think you make a really good point. I think you're totally right. And usually like a hijack deal, whether you think this is or not, it's usually where you pay more than the club that are originally interested. This will be completely Tottenham style to go, the same or even less than Chelsea's offer for Xavi Simons. It's not what I call a typical hijack. You make a very good point, so thank you very much. Travis, I'll come to you. For you, do you think we should be paying, quite a bit more maybe than Leipzig want for Xavi Simons, or at least the amount they're asking for to get this deal done and beat Chelsea to his signature?
Yeah, I think Matt's probably hit the nail on the head there, to be fair. I think, as a club, I think, Levy's already come out and said, we need to win the Premier League, we want to win the Champions League, and we need to be absolutely brutal within this transfer window and just paying what these players are worth, and just absolutely going for it, because I can't remember the last time we actually done something like that. So yeah, whatever the player's worth, we just need to slap it on the table. And as Ian quite rightly said earlier, put it on the table there. If they want to play for Tottenham, fantastic. If they don't, then go to other clubs. That's the structure, the mentality we need to have as a club at the moment to press forwards and start winning silverware, etc. And we need these players like Xavi Simons. He's a fantastic youngster. He was brilliant in, I can't remember if it was the Euros or the World Cup. He scored, a couple of great goals. He's obviously teammates with Van der Ven, obviously being in the Dutch team. So yeah, I'd absolutely, you have to pay the money, you have to pay the wages to get these players. City do it, Arsenal do it, Chelsea do it, and that's why they've always been, that bit more further than what we are. So we need to be brutal, and we need to be absolutely in there and just saying, look, because what would be the most Spursy thing to do is to go and say we're going to hijack this player, and the next thing you know, we leave it to the last minute, and he won't do it. And that is the most embarrassing thing about Tottenham, because we'll give it all the big and say, we'll go and pay 60+ million with add-ons for Xavi. We're going to hijack your player off you. Next thing is at Chelsea. That is what happens at Tottenham with a lot of players. So yeah, it's all got to come down to the mentality of the brutality of the club and what they want to have to achieve things and move forward.
I personally think you've hit the nail on the head as well. You're not the only one tonight, so thank you very much, Travis, for having your say on that. Nige, does it concern you slightly that Chelsea are doing very well or progressing anyway and trying to move players on that are linked to Jackson? I think it's getting closer to Bayern Munich, and Kuku's getting close to an exit. Do you think that concerns you that they could all of a sudden go in for Simmons as well as the likes of Garnacho?
Yeah, of course. I mean, Chelsea are Chelsea, right? What I don't understand is why all these teams, and we get told it with every transfer, this team can't go for this player because they need to sell players first. We heard it with United. Suddenly, bang, 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 they buy an entire strike force. We heard it with Arsenal. Arsenal need to sell before they even think about getting Eze. As soon as they get an injury, bang, they get Eze. I think Chelsea could buy if they need to. I don't really think they need to get rid of players. But listen, am I confident that we will get Xavi Simons? No. Am I hopeful? Absolutely. I just think if we manage to get him to the training ground, get him in, lock the doors, lock the windows, do not let him out until he signed a contract. For me, this is massive. It's all right playing, low-balling teams in June, even July, but we are 3 days now, 4 days before the end of the window. We can't afford to mess around. If we have to offer the money, we offer the money. Simple as that.
Yeah, I can just picture it, can't you? Xavi, this is Mr. Marinakis, our new chief enforcer. Doors locked, windows locked. Yeah, sorry. Whoosh!
Mariaka style indeed. No, thank you, Nige and Ian, for that. Matt, can I come to you? Do you believe if Thomas Frank, assuming he hasn't already, gets the chance to pitch maybe his project, his plan, his trajectory to Xavi Simons himself, that could help convince him to join Tottenham over Chelsea? Like Paulinho speaks about how Frank convinced him to make the move.
I think so. I mean, we all heard for the last couple of years that when Ange opened his mouth and talked to the players, they all signed on, even after talking to Levy and knowing what the financials were and whatnot. It was Ange that said, hey, come, play this style of football. Hopefully it'll work. It didn't. So I would think that if you get Frank on the phone with him, who, by the way, is another fellow Dutchman or Belgian, I guess he is. It couldn't hurt, right? Say, hey, I love your style. We have this spot open for you because our other two creative attacking midfielders are injured for a long run of the season. There's no, you're going to have this role. This is what it'll look like. Every week will kind of change, but you'll be in the driver's seat of the offense. I don't see how that could hurt. My only concern is that if he wants to go to Chelsea because he wants to just get paid and win things and not actually have to play a leading role in things, then that becomes the question for me, is the mentality. But, have Frank talk to him, see how that mentality checks out. Because it was the same thing with, center backs going to Arsenal. They already have 7 of them. Why do you need more? You just want to sit there, get paid, not have to do anything. I don't want those kind of guys at Tottenham. I want people who want to be in the trenches and try to win things and earn it.
Matt, I'm not sure how much news gets to darkest Nebraska, but I gather that yesterday Thomas Frank had a fairly lengthy conversation with the player, and with obviously Chelsea not progressing it. I mean, we've sat in the background for this. That has convinced him to come to London today. That's I'm hearing.
I would assume that if they were both in London, there'd be no reason not to have a face-to-face conversation.
But I think I understand, we all rely on social media now for our information. God, it used to the fun days when it used to just be newspapers. But that it was a telephone conversation yesterday that convinced the player that yes, I'm interested in this Tottenham project, which led to further discussions between Tottenham and Leipzig, and our making this offer, which appears to be 60 million euros plus 10 million euros in achievable add-ons, which is, I think, a pretty decent price for a player of that quality. That appears within 3 installments. That appears to be largely agreed, and the player, as I understand, is in North London, so I assume he's at the training ground. And as I say, I would love to be on air, love it to be my show, Harry, but if not, I'm more than happy that it's yours, where we get an announcement. You know, we are delighted to announce the signing of Xavi Simons from RB Leipzig, he will be in the squad to play Bournemouth on Saturday. Tune into Harry's show for up-to-date analysis of that game. I mean, one can only hope. I've written the press release. All I can do is hope
Indeed.
it comes about.
You would think with the summer that Spurs have had, missing out on players, that they must have had some sort of like, yes, I'm interested to put a bid in, because surely they wouldn't otherwise.
Absolutely, 100% right. Must be.
Ian, can I ask you, David Clark, a regular in the YouTube chat, says players have had medicals at Spurs, then walked out the front door and signed for Chelsea the same day. Are you still confident?
I love David to bits. He's a regular contributor on our show as well. But if there's a negative side to find, David will find it. Of course it can happen. There was actually, and I'm trying to remember the bloody player it was, not the Willian thing, the player that went to Arsenal, the French player that we had in, and then he he asked for money from Levy to go into town to get a taxi into town, and he ended up at Arsenal. What, the French guy? What was his name? Good player as well.
Emmanuel Petit.
Bloody good player. Sorry?
Was it Emmanuel Petit?
Petit. Thank you. I was thinking it begins with a P. Manuel Petit. That was exactly right. Yeah, of course it can happen. But we appear to be unless we hijack the hijackers, or the hijackers hijack the hijackers. My understanding of what's happened here is that Chelsea have just decided they are not pursuing this deal. If they were pursuing it, I'm absolutely certain he would have been at Chelsea. Of course it could happen, David, but let's be absolutely try and think positively on this. And I think that that Nige makes a really important point about this. That with what has happened, the last thing, it's like being at the dance and you're walking around the outside and you ask 3 girls to dance and they all say no, and you think, well, heavens above, I can't be seen in public asking a 4th one. This is what people know, that we with Gibbs White, whatever happened with Gibbs White, they know that as he played as and he's ended up in an Arsenal shirt. So you can absolutely be sure that the club are very, very conscious and are doing everything they can to make sure that lightning doesn't strike 3 times in the same place, and that when they've made this offer and they're speaking to the player, they are confident that this deal is going to take place. Got to be positive. I mean, otherwise you just may as well, let's just get knives and slit our throats, or be lemmings and just jump off the edge of the cliff. Let's be positive. And I'll say one other thing about this is, I think that Simons is a far better signing than either Gibbs White or Eze. Far better, for a similar money. Far better. Younger, more technically gifted. You might not want to go into that now. More technically gifted. Eze's already, is he 27, 28?
Can you get the stats for that?
Can
you get the stats for that?
Sorry, Travis, I can't hear you.
Can you get the stats for that?
Stats. We do it off air. After. But I tell you what, I'm going to ask the question, because Ian's raised it, and it's a really interesting point, and it's a hypothetical, surely, but I'm going to say to the panel, if you have a choice out of Morgan Gibbs-White, Eberechi Eze, or Xavi Simons, let's forget what they've done, what they've decided to do, and forget about this window. If you could honestly choose, and there's nothing wrong with saying what you're going to say, it's not going to change anything. So I'm going to go around one by one and ask this because I'm incredibly interested now. Matt, I'm going to come to you. Who out of the three of Gibbs-White, Eze, and Simmons is it for you if you could choose?
So it's an interesting spot for me because I'm also a follower of Forrest. So I'm going to go with Morgan Gibbs-White because I've seen what he's done for every game for the last, 3 years or whatever. I would say Gibbs-White in terms of just what he brings and the he's good on both sides of the ball. Eze clearly grew up an Arsenal fan based on the interview they did with him when they introduced him. So he's out. And my only issue with Simmons is that sometimes it takes these guys coming from the Bundesliga a little bit of time to get used to the speed and the physicality of the Premier League that's just not there in the Bundesliga. So I would have taken Gibbs-White.
Gibbs-White, okay. Appreciate that, Matt. Again, thanks for the honesty. Ian, what about for you?
No, I'm happy with Simmons. I really am happy with Simmons. I like Gibbs-White, but funnily enough, I was on a show that Ashmatic hosted about this time last year, and Coach Dave was the other guest. And Ash did one of his brilliant videos on what Gibbs-White offers. Look, I think he offers a lot. I mean, I think Gibbs-White, Eze would still have been my third choice, but I think Simmons offers in terms of what we need in there, in terms of his range of passing, his shooting, and what have you. I think he's a more skilled player than Gibbs-White. He's not English, which is an issue because we need homegrown. But and there is an age thing as well. This guy's got massive ceiling, masses of growth. And remember, he won't have to play every game because Starr can play there if he wants some more, energy in there. Kulusevski will hopefully be back end of the year, beginning of next year. I still think Johnson can play a role in like that because of the way he gets up and supports the forward. I think there's so much flexibility. I just think this boy gives us a little extra dimension to the game. And if we could get a really good left-sided left winger as well, although I know Simmons can play there. And that's maybe another chat about where he plays, because if Paqueta was to come, would he then play? Anyway, look, I'm going way ahead of myself. I am really happy if we get Simmons. Really happy.
Okay, thank you. Simmons to you. We're going to get on to a bit about what Simmons can bring to Tottenham and his best position a little bit next, but you maybe think of this question, so I appreciate that. Nice for you. Gibbs-White, Eze, Simmons. Who are you going for?
Oh, Eze was the one for me that hurt when he left for Arsenal. That did sting a bit, but love Morgan Gibbs-White as well. I was really excited when I thought he was coming. I've got to say Simmons, yeah, he excites me. He is a player that is going to get us off our seats. Lots of skill, lots of technical ability, can score goals, can assist. You look at his GA over the last 2 or 3 seasons is really high. So I'm excited to see what Simmons can bring to Tottenham. Of course, if he signs for Chelsea is absolute rubbish. But if he comes to Spurs, I will be really happy. But Eze was the one for me. That did sting.
It did, yeah. Again, appreciate your honesty because it absolutely did, and there's no two ways about it. Travis, who are you going to pick?
I'll tell you who I'm going to pick, and I'll tell you why. I won't bang on about it, but I'm choosing Xavi Simons for pure principle. One, because Eze couldn't make his mind up, and I'm 99.9% sure that he had already had a gentleman's agreement with someone in Arsenal anyway, regardless of the transfer to Tottenham. And because Marinakis, the way he went about the transfer, his ignorance and everything that was just completely based on the whole transfer was just completely unprofessional and probably quite unprovoked, really, regardless of what happens from an owner's perspective. And I think Xavi Simons, he's 21 years old. I think it'd be a huge prospect for the future. Obviously, he's mates with Mickey van der Ven anyway. And I think he'll just be a really exciting player to watch. I think someone said, if it might be Ian, that said about him coming from the Bundesliga and how players take time to grow, etc., to grow into the Premier League, the pace of the Premier League compared to what it is on the Bundesliga. But someone of Xavi Simons' calibre, I think he will thrive under Frank, like the whole team are at the moment, really. I know we've only played 2 games, but the difference that you can see from this season to last season being under Postecoglou is massive. So I'm really excited to hopefully watch this one come to life and happen.
Thank you, Travis. Thank you, everyone. I don't know if anyone saw that Morgan Gibbs White interview recently with TalkSport, but I thought it come across really well. And it's really like an eye-opener to see that he was kind of really saying that he was forced into the move and how, he's a family man and made decisions on behalf of his family. But the way he speaks, what I picked up from that was that someone was blocking his move. I think we know who that was, Mariakis himself. So then he had to make the decision to, keep his fiance and his family at the best interest for them because it took so long. But if you really listen to the way he words, he's basically saying, I want to, where he did say, I want to play Champions League football, so I still do. I have my own personal ambitions. So I gather from that he was ready to go, wanted to go, but then it took so long, whether you blame for that, I certainly blame Mariakis in this case rather than Levy, to be fair, but then it didn't go through. So I just find that really, really interesting. But hey ho, he's done now.
Harry, can I pick up something that you the quote you put up from David about Levy? And he's older than me. David is older than me.
Let me read it out, Ian, for people who can't
go on.
Let's read it out. It says, David Clark says, no, but I've supported Spurs since 1960, so I've actually seen owners that know how to run a football club, and Daniel Levy is not one of them. The guy is a fraud. If Spurs fans are happy with him, laugh out loud. Okay, well, he's older than me. He's one of the few on social media that or YouTube that does this. But when I started watching Spurs, it was the Wales and the Richardson families. They didn't do a lot. There wasn't a lot to do as a football club. You went in, you wanted to pay £100,000 for a player. You could do it and what have you. There was no massive TV revenues. There was nothing. It was fairly easy. But there was no development of the stadium, the sound system. You couldn't hear. My dad used to write and complain because we couldn't hear, and the substitutes and arbiters. You'd think that they would be able to fix that. They couldn't. But then they sold out, and we got Bobroff and Scholar, and they decided, this is all before some of you guys' time, and they decided that being a football club wasn't the basis for success. They wanted to be a broad-based leisure company, and they would buy different companies, and those companies would bring in money that would make the football club even richer. So they bought a merchandising company, and that lost money. They bought a ticketing company. That lost money. They bought, I can't remember, another company. Bottom line is we nearly went bust because those idiots, the people that apparently know how to run a football club, invested in businesses they had no idea how to run, didn't put management in to run them, and those businesses, those people nearly bankrupted the football club. Then we had Alan Sugar, the guru from The Apprentice, who apparently knows all there is to know about running a business, but he didn't understand. He didn't understand that when he was building all these satellite dishes for Sky, that there was going to be a massive influx of money into football, and that you needed to invest in football at that time to be at the very forefront. And he didn't do that either. So much as he saved us from bankruptcy, Sugar wasn't a great leader of a football club. Supposedly a brilliant businessman. I know a lot of businessmen who know him who think he isn't, that he's a PR merchant. So I'm not buying that. When Enoch took over, we were in serious financial stuck. Serious financial stuck. Yeah, I mean, look, I could write a book on the mistakes they've made. But if you look at where we are now compared to where we were then, and we were what? I don't know, 15th, 16th in the table, and just as a football club going nowhere. We've now got this amazing stadium. Yeah, okay, it's taken too long, but we're a European Champions club. We're playing in the Champions League regularly. Yeah, I could find all kinds of faults with the owners and where they failed to invest.
their failures to get deals in and out and what have you of the club. You look at Chelsea, by the way. Look at what they're able to sell players for. I mean, it's something we can only admire. But I'm not going with the narrative, this romantic narrative that everything was rosy before Enoch took over, because it's utter rubbish. It's utter rubbish. And if you want new owners, I'm fine. I'm absolutely all ears for new owners. But give me a name and have a look at what they're offering and why. Because the grass is not always greener. You can look at Everton. You can look at Leicester. Sorry, I could go on. Sheffield Wednesday, Bury. There's dozens of clubs that have got into serious trouble because they haven't done proper due diligence. So that's my rant over.
No, I appreciate that, because you should be able to have a discussion where we go, maybe these owners and chairmen aren't doing a good enough job or should be pushed to do more. But also, before they come here, there was a little bit of a state. It's not for me to comment on that because I wasn't alive before Enoch were here. So I can't comment on that. But I know a lot of people do feel the same way. So really appreciate your input in and being level-headed and balanced as you always are. I mean, don't get that enough, do we? It's all right. We don't get that enough at all across social media. So I appreciate you for that. Very, very good. Let's jump back to Xavi Simons. Then we're going to move on to the cup draws, and then we do get into Bournemouth. So do bear with me on this. But Xavi Simons is a big talking point today, so it needs discussing in detail. Matt, coming back to you, would you say the wages are an obstacle for the Xavi Simons deal? Because it looks like that it would have to be Tottenham's joint highest paid player with Romero. Do you see that as a potential obstacle anyway?
I mean, the wage bill is always an obstacle at Tottenham, right? I think last year it showed, I think we used 42% of revenue on wage bill, which, has us in a great position financially and stable. And, it's not like we have to tap the rainy day fund, but it also does mean that when you're in negotiations like this and Chelsea can say, okay, we're just going to fork over the 70 million and we're going to pay you what you want. And who cares? We'll, sell another women's team or sell another hotel to ourselves. It does cause problems for getting those elite level guys who want to get paid like the elite level players. So I don't know if Levy's actually serious about getting one of these deals done. It won't be that big of a problem if he's paying two guys the same thing. Quite frankly, when you told me that Romero was the highest paid guy, I was a little. That would not have been. I mean, he's worth it. Don't get me wrong, but that would not have been my immediate pick for highest paid player. But look, if they're going to offer what Leipzig wants and they're going to offer him the weekly amount he wants, sure, go for it. Great, excellent. Get him in the squad. Get him on the field. But it is always generally a concern for the higher level guys that Levy doesn't seem to like to extend the wage bill very much.
No, you're right. And by the way, Matt, thank you firstly, but I think Romero with the wage is only because that new deal that he's signed. I think you're absolutely right. Before that, he wouldn't have been top 1, top 2, top 3 before that. So that's why I think it surprised you. It won't be the only one. So that's absolutely why. Thank you for that. Tell you what, I'm going to come to you, Travis. Are you confident deep down that Tottenham can get this deal done? Are you still a little bit scarred from the fact we couldn't get Eze or Gibbs-White over the line?
I don't think I'd be a Tottenham fan if I wasn't unconfident. I just think with our mentality and with our our hope and success that we don't have in these transfer windows, I think it just speaks volumes really. But I think Levy, as we say, probably new enough every transfer window, needs to start putting his money where his mouth is if he wants to succeed in the Champions League, get to the knockout stages, win the FA Cup, win the Carabao Cup. And I'm not saying win every individual title, but getting up there with the big guns where we should be. On paper, at the moment, the team looks fantastic. We're playing fantastic football. But I think Xavi Simons would be an absolutely exceptional asset and add on to our club in so many ways. He's 21. He's a young prospect, and I think he would really kind of. I think it would probably lower a lot of people's doubts and negative views on Daniel Levy and how he runs the football club, and shows the intent he wants to actually back this manager after all the managers that we've had. So I think if we sign Xavi Simons, I know for me it will take a lot of doubt out of my mind to what I have at the moment. But as I say, I wouldn't be a Tottenham fan if I didn't have the doubt that we wasn't going to get this transfer over the line. And I'm sure a lot of the guys would agree with that.
Yeah, I think they absolutely will. Travis, I'm going to stick with you and ask you another question, if you don't mind. And that is, would you be happy with just signing Xavi Simons this window and nobody else, considering Ian mentioned it there? Simons is a number 10, can also play on the left wing. We should be probably having this conversation, but would you be happy with just him? Because it could be a case of not a 10 or a left winger, one or the other.
Yeah, I think, as you say, he can play, most positions within the midfield, and I think it would also add competition into the wingers that we have now. We've obviously sort of the sign of Matthias Tell, Brennan Johnson, Kulusevski, obviously when he comes back from injury, looking more towards the end of the season, which is absolutely gutting because, as you know, I am a big fan of Dejan Kulusevski. But I think we need at least one more defender. I don't understand why Vuskovic has gone out on loan. I thought he had an absolutely fantastic pre-season. Maybe he's just not that ready yet. But for me, I would have kept Vuskovic as a backup. I know we've got Kevin Danso, we've got Romero, we've got Van der Ven, and maybe one or two more. I'm not too sure. But Vuskovic for me would have got on that bench if not in the starting 11. Maybe there's more behind it. I don't know, but I think we need at least one more addition to the team. I think the midfield with Xavi Simons, if we do sign Xavi Simons, I think the midfield would be pretty much sorted. Obviously, with Sarr playing the way he's playing at the moment, I think he's been absolutely outstanding. But I think we need just one more addition to the team just to get us that more secure. Personally.
Okay. Thank you very much. Nige, same question to you. If we sign Xavi Simons, let's say we're in a situation where we don't sign a left winger, is that okay?
With it being so late in the window, I think it's one of them where you'll be like, you would accept it, but no, it's definitely not okay. I think our squad size is like 22, is it? Around 22 players, with the players expected to go out. This is if Basuma leaves, if Solomon leaves. That's surely not a big enough squad to compete on all levels, on all fronts. So for me, no, we need at least 2 or 3. But tell me now, you get Simons and no one else, I'll take it just because I want Simons in. But Levy has to do it. He has to go out, pay the money, and sell the club. Sell the club to Simons. Tell him that we're going to build a team around you. You are going to be the main man. For me, just get it done.
100%. I think you're totally right. Thank you, Nige. Ian, what do you think that he can bring to Spurs, Xavi Simons, if you get him over the line?
Oh, I think he brings an invention. It's something we don't have. I mean, I like Sarr, but I think there's a maturity now in Sarr. Remember a year or so ago, people writing him off, oh, he's not good enough, not good enough. And the boy's 20 or 19 and a half. And we've got the same with Gray now. It's something I really don't like, and it's particularly with social media. You've got a boy of 18, 19, and people are writing them off before they've even had a chance. I mean, hell's bells, if I'd have been, if I'd have been written off as at 14 or 15, where I was academically at that point, I'd have still been stacking shelves in Asda. I mean, that's the bottom line. I developed quite late in life academically, and Harry, you will know what it's like, those kind of struggles to get acceptance, and you do something as brilliantly as you do this, and it's a perfect indication. You write these players off and what have you, and so if we didn't get anybody else in, you'd live with it because you love the club. But I think he brings an invention. I think he brings goals. I think he brings a range of passing that we just don't have. I've said this before on streams. My fear is that if we see Maddison again, he will never be the player he was. Although in some ways he disappointed me at Spurs. I didn't think he did enough what I would call risk and reward football, as in trying to find that 7-8 yard pass through a defence, around the back of a defence to the side. where if you lose the ball there, it doesn't matter. I don't mind taking risks there, taking risks on your own penalty area. That's a problem, and I don't think we have that skill set either with Madison, and he's injured, or with Sarr, or with Kulusevski. So he brings a skill set to the side that we don't have, and he's one of those players that could just pop a 25-yarder out of nowhere. Those all of a sudden, wow, where did that come from? And it's a goal. In goals that are so precious. So I think he brings that. I don't know if you wanted me to, because you asked a different question, and I do that when I've got people on about what else we might do, or would I be happy if that was all we did?
Of course.
Look, I accept what we do is what we do. Spurs always have a knack to let you down. But I mean, I'm absolutely with the other guys. I'm absolutely with Nige that the squad's a little bit thin. Particularly if we're letting Bissouma, Gill, Solomon go. But I mean, you hear things. I mean, another defender, the name that's cropped up a fair bit over the last couple of days is Nathan Ake. Now, I thought we should have bought him when he was at Bournemouth. I mean, I don't know if it was social media or whatever. Oh, what do you idiot? He's just got relegated with Bournemouth. What do you want to sign him for? Well, because he's a bloody good footballer, that's why. And I think he would add a skill set that we, again, don't have. Someone who is comfortable at left back, although Kudos gave him a bit of a rough time on Saturday afternoon. But he could play the left side of a 3. He could play the left side of a 4. He could play at left side on a 3 or a 4, or a 3 or a 4 or a 5. I just think he has he's just one of those players. You look at a football jigsaw and go, he slots in perfectly. Don't know whether City will let him go. I don't know, but I just think that was an area they were looking to upgrade, and he was looking for more game time. Perfect. And I can't get Silvinho out of my head. I just can't get the idea that deal is not dead. That City will be trying to get a Rodrigo or somebody in, and that then they will let him go, because Pep generally doesn't want players who don't want to be there. It's gone very quiet, so be it. But press saying it's dead suits me. Ake and Silvinho and Simmons, I think then it's an 11 out of 10. 11 out of 10 window, to be honest.
That's how things can change so quickly.
Absolutely.
If only we could get that business done. Fingers crossed. Let's be positive, as Ian said himself.
I've been furiously refreshing my Twitter timeline to see if there's any news, but none yet.
I'll try and keep you updated.
I think someone's just put in the group chat, H, regarding Xavi Simons being at Hotspur away today. Apparently, it was a positive meeting, but it's not close enough. The fact is that Hotspur away just boils my blood. Just get the deal done.
Yeah, 100%. Fingers crossed we do. Let's remain positive, and we'll provide you, anyone listening, with any updates as we go along. But for now, Matt, I'm going to give you the last question before we move on from Xavi Simons. And that is...
Just read Callum's thing. Yeah, okay.
Oh, what's he said?
I'll just put that. Yeah, no, I'm there. Meeting was positive at Hotspur Way, but no full agreement on personal terms yet. This is where Chelsea come in and take the deal offers. And that's what boils people's blood.
Let's see.
Or other bodily fluids.
We'll wait to hear from big sources, so we'll wait to see. But we've got in the know and ourselves in the chat in Callum. It gets a little bit snippets of information, but that's what he says. No agreement yet, but the show must go on, as they say. And Matt, the last question on Xavi Simons before we move on to Vuskovic and talk all things draws and Bournemouth eventually. What do you think his best position is? Is it that number 10? And do you like that he's a versatile player that can play in different positions?
Yeah, I think the 10 is his best spot, which is what we need at this point. But I do like that he's versatile. Frank also likes versatile guys. He's been trying to bring them in all transfer window. I do have to say that the squad is thin, but I have more faith that we can survive with a thin squad under Thomas Frank and his ability to set up properly for each individual game and rotate players, then, like, for example, if we had Ange and Madison and Kulusevski are already out to start the season, I don't think there's any way we look this good to start the season, nor do we have a lead over PSG in the Super Cup until we, the real PSG showed up for 9 minutes at the end of the game. But yes, the squad is thin. We do have, I agree with Travis that I think Vuskovic should have been kept and not let to go out on loan. I don't know if there's a deal in place that we can recall him if needed. We do have Dragushin coming back, I think, in January from that ACL, which I think he would do wonders in a Frank system, and I don't think he ever fit in Ange's back line given his skill set and lack of ability to play the high line. So yeah, I would say that I am, if we don't get Javi Simmons and we don't get another player sprinkled in, sure, the squad is thin, but I do feel a little bit more confident that Frank can get some more out of it, given the versatility of the guys that we have in the squad, especially up front.
Appreciate that. And let's move on now swiftly to Vuskovic. Nige, just start with you. Do you think going on loan is the best for his development? Maybe we'll park aside what is best for Tottenham a minute and focus on the individual. Is that best for him?
For me, yes. I've been saying all summer, listen, if he's not going to get game time, I've saw him in pre-season. He looks a decent player, and I think he's going to be, his ceiling's very high. But if he's not going to get minutes, then for me, he has to get minutes somewhere. So I would have loaned him out. But we are now short at the back. For me, we only have 4 centre backs, and one of them's Ben Davis. Obviously, Dragushin's out for a while. So Frank likes playing 3 at the back. So if we get one injury, he's really screwed. So for me, letting Vuskovic go must mean that we have someone coming in, or we have an idea of bringing someone in. I can't imagine we're going to go into the rest of the season just with 4 centre backs.
100%. Totally agree with you, Nige. Ian, does it concern you that if Vuskovic leaves on loan, that Romero, Van der Ven and Dancer are only fit current centre-backs? That's 3 compared to Arsenal having 7 fit centre-backs, for example. Does that concern you?
Do you ask me that, Harry?
Yeah.
Yeah, very much so, and I agree. I wouldn't have let Vuskovic go, but you have to leave that side to the professionals to know how they think a player will best develop, getting minutes rather than sitting on a Tottenham bench. You guys are all too young to remember the football combination where there was a reserve team. Spurs reserves used to play on a Saturday afternoon at 3:00. If the first team were away, we'd go along to White Hart Lane and watch the reserves play. You'd see young kids like Neil McNabb or Glenn Hoddle or Mickey Hazard playing reserve team football, thinking these players look good enough to step up. And then you see them, but you don't have that anymore. So they have to go away on loans and what have you. So you've got to trust that these people know what they're doing, that we won't get to 7:00 on Monday night and go, oh, we forgot to sign a centre half. Oh, we better not get any injuries. Sorry to do the dummy view, but they must know what they're doing. And if they've got if they're letting Vuskovic go to Hamburg, isn't it? It's Hamburg, or no? Is it Hamburg?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, Hamburg. If he's going to Hamburg, that they've got at least one lined up to come in, at least one.
Absolutely, you'd absolutely hope so. Travis, should Vuskovic be kept for cover, in your opinion, or do you think you look at it and go, it's best for the player's interest to go and play football and get minutes in their legs?
The thing that baffles me, right, and I know they're 2 completely different positions, but how has Vuskovic, who had a fantastic pre-season, being sent out on loan to the Bundesliga to a middle club team while we've still got Ben Davies playing for the club? That's what I find so baffling. I know Ben Davies has been a fantastic servant to the club. He steps up when needs be, but I think his sell-by date is completely run out now. Personally, that's just my opinion. But you need to give these players a chance. Vuskovic isn't a small bloke. He's a solid defender. I think he's about 6'4", and he's built like an absolute machine. Obviously, he scored that great goal in pre-season. I think it might have been against Rangers or something like that. And I even said to my dad, I said, these are the sort of players that are going to step up and want to, wear the shirt and give them good performances to show their worth and that they are worthy of a start 11 sides. As a couple of the boys said, if he's not going to get minutes at Spurs, then obviously, go out on loan and get some minutes elsewhere. I don't think Hamburg is a very good option, really. I think he could have gone to a much better club, personally. But yeah, I think I think as Matt said, we are still short at the back, and that's why I said obviously earlier that we need another addition in the transfer window, i.e., a new solid defender. I'm just not comfortable with Vuskovic going out on loan. I know he only played 2 games, but I think he had 2 exceptional performances, and I think he would have been a fantastic asset to have in the starting 11, if not on the bench when needs be, and that's both Champions League and the Premier League.
Thank you, Travis. A lot of people in the YouTube chat listening live are saying Vuskovic should stay. It's an interesting one. For me, the best interest of Tottenham would be to keep him there for cover, even if we do sign another centre-back. Not being funny, but Takai we brought in's injured. Dragson's out for another couple of months at least yet. I'm very concerned with numbers, but also you've got to look at it and go, the player's best interest is probably to go and play football, and he has more chance of doing that elsewhere at this moment with Ryan van der Ven remaining fit and Dragson eventually to come back. Dancer's still fit. That's the thing. It's, do you put the player's interest first or the club's interest first? That's the difficulty the club do have. But Matt, can I ask you before we move on away from transfers, do you think Tottenham need to sign a centre-back, and is there any names that you want Tottenham to go for?
I think Ake is an interesting one because I think he could be gotten for relatively, less money than some of the other bigger ones. He's got a lot of experience, obviously, in huge games for Man City. But I don't know. It's hard to, in my opinion, it's hard for me to go look at a center back and see, this guy, I'm so used to watching the fluctuating high line that we played the last few years. And now you go, well, now we kind of need to stand there and shut down center back. And it's a little, part of me wonders if they think Archie Gray can be an emergency fill-in, given what he did last year, which is, again, not great, obviously. But I wonder if that goes to the versatility, and he's done it a little bit. Not, he's not your ideal center back, obviously. But yeah, it would be interesting if we could go get like Ake, who I think would be pretty cheap, which also fits Levy's operating procedures.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. I don't know why we're not going for a Kanji, because Man City have said reportedly anyway, £15 million. It looks like Galatasaray, and he hasn't made his mind up yet. So for me, £15 million. I mean, I'm not saying I don't want Ake, but that feels like an absolute no-brainer, really, to get football in his legs. I think he's a good defender, as good as Ake, if not better. Just a name to throw out there. But let's move on now to the Carabao Cup draw we'll start with. So if people didn't see it, Tottenham have drawn against Doncaster at home. Listen to this. This is absolutely baffling. It's our first home draw in the round 3 of the Carabao Cup since 2018. That was 7 years ago. And it was Watford who we faced at the MK Dons Stadium. And the match against Watford then finished 2-2. And it went to penalties. And Tottenham won on penalties. I don't know what's more crazy about this. The fact that we had no stadium. And it was played at MK Dons Stadium. The fact it was all the way back in 2018. Or the fact that 2018 was 7 years ago. The fact that Watford took us to penalties. Or the fact that we defeated a team on penalties. I don't know what's craziest about that. I'll let you make up your mind. It's a baffling stat, isn't it, Ian?
I didn't even know that, so thanks for that, Aaron. I did not know that, and I have no recollection of the game at all in terms of it being played, of us not being at our own stadium, of it being played at. Did you say MK Dons Stadium?
Yeah.
MK Dons Stadium and winning on, but no recollection. I often with games, I've got a good memory for stuff like this, but I got no recollection of that at all. But it's astonishing that we haven't had a home draw for 7 years. I mean, that's a really lousy statistic, but it's a great draw. Let's be honest. It's a great draw for them too. They will pack out whatever allocation they have. It's a great trip from from South Yorkshire, direct train line into King's Cross and along to Seven Sisters and along. They'll have a great night out. It's a game we should win. It's a game we should be able to rest a few players and still be comfortable and win. Look, it's fabulous, and it's when I was on Diehards on Sunday. Tuesday, looking at prospective opponents and reading through, and Doncaster was one of them. And you take any one of those lower league clubs in a home game, and they'll take it as well. They'll be over the moon. The payday and the trip to play in a stadium like ours. Their supporters don't get to see stadium like that ever. So, yeah, fabulous.
100%. Thank you. Matt, you feel the same, that you're happy with the draw and how it went for Tottenham?
Yeah, I think we lucked out in that one too. There's not a ton of or any. I don't think there's any Premier League on Premier League matches in the third, in this draw. So in terms of the ones, we could have gotten, I'll take Doncaster, although can't get too confident because, maybe they'll be Grimsby. And hopefully we don't go in there assuming we can knock them off and then lose 12-11 on penalties. Do you see the interview with the keeper for Grimsby Town, by the way?
Yeah, Man United fan.
Yeah, he's a Man U fan, so he said part of him is torn up that he's eliminated.
Yeah, he said he's gutted inside. That's what he said.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Wild stuff.
I mean, I get it. I don't know if I would have said, I've gone as far as saying I'm gutted and half broken inside. There's something along the lines of that. But hey ho, he's done an amazing job. And I mean, let's all laugh at United, I guess, and what's going on there. Amrin with these tactics boards against Grimsby Town. I mean, very, very interesting. Great penalties, though, to be fair. But Anana's probably better not being in goal for those penalties. But we're focused on Tottenham for now. Nige, I come to you. Talk to me about the draw. I mean, it couldn't have gone much better for us, could it really?
No, we've not been overly lucky with draws, have we, over the last 4 or 5 years? It feels like we always seem to draw like a Man City away or somebody half decent in the Premier League or something. So for me, perfect draw at home against lower league opposition, a chance to play perfect chance for Gray to come in, perfect chance for Bergvall, some of the younger players. This is a game we should be able to rest a lot of the first team and comfortably win. Fingers crossed. But yeah, perfect draw for me. Couldn't have got a better draw in my opinion.
Thank you. Travis, do you feel the same? Is it nice to finally get that home draw? Should we back Tottenham to get the job done, maybe even with resting players, as Nige says?
Yeah, of course, it's lovely. Obviously, I feel it's nice to say we haven't been particularly very lucky with the draws over the years, but obviously look what happened at Tamworth. What an absolute colossal game that was. It's Tottenham, and I think anything can happen. But yeah, I'm happy with the draw, considering what we've had over the last couple of years. And again, I go back to my point earlier where we could have kept players like Vuskovic and put him out for 90 minutes to see what he's made of. But here we are. He's now gone out on loan, Doncaster in the FA Cup. I'm just hoping we can have a fully grown and well adapted squad before the cup gets serious.
Fingers crossed. That's certainly the aim. We move swiftly on then to the Champions League draw conducted today on Thursday. So league phase draw it was, the second year of the new European format. So Tottenham have been drawn against the following: Borussia Dortmund at home, Paris Saint-Germain away, Villarreal at home, Frankfurt away, Slavia Prague at home, Bodo Glimt again away, Copenhagen at home, and Monaco away. I'll read those again. That's Borussia Dortmund at home, PSG away, Villarreal at home, Frankfurt away, Slavia Prague at home, Bodo Glimt away, Copenhagen at home, and Monaco away. So let's do this slightly differently and separate into two. So the home fixtures are Borussia Dortmund, Villarreal, Slavia Prague. and Copenhagen. And we're away to PSG. That'd be tough. Frankfurt, Bodo Glimt, and Monaco. Happy with that draw? Is it a favourable draw for Tottenham?
Phenomenal draw. I mean, there's a couple of memes going about saying, you won't be playing teams like Bodo and Frankfurt in the Champions League, will you? And there we are. Look, you look at those home games, forget the away ties for a minute. Dortmund, Villarreal, Slavia Prague, and who have improved a lot lately, by the way, and Copenhagen. That actually is 12 points waiting to happen. I'm not saying we will necessarily get 12 points because these things tend to come back and bite you on the bum. But they are 12 achievable points, more than achievable points. So I don't think you get a better draw than that. I seriously don't. Yeah, it'd be nice to get a bit more glamour. We've got Parry, but a Barcelona, Real Madrid, or whatever chucked in there. But no, that's a fabulous draw. There's nothing you can say about that draw that's bad. Because at the end of the day, this is the preliminary stage, and it's all about getting into the last 16. And I think we should be a top 16 side easily with that draw, really easily.
Thank you, Ian. Travis, are you happy with the draw?
Yeah, but I'm also very concerned about every single team that we're going to play in the Champions League in that first pot. I think there's probably easier games in there. There's also some very hard games. Bodo Glimt, obviously, I know we beat them in the semi-final of the Europa League. Villarreal, a good side. Monaco could be an easy team. Dortmund at home is going to be very, very hard, and also PSG. And the reason why I worry about these games is because of our lack of quality in the transfer window. I mean, Kudus, what a signing. I know we've gone past signings now, but I just want to say Kudus has been absolutely immense, an absolute monster in that midfield. I'm so happy with him, and I think he's going to lead the team forwards till we might even get Xavi Simons. I don't know, but yeah, of course I'm worried about every single game in the Champions League. People say they're small teams, but they can't be that small if they're in the Champions League. And no game is easy. So yeah, probably the two hardest games out of that is going to be Dortmund and PSG, if you look at it that way. But it's the Champions League, and it's probably one of the hardest leagues in the world.
100%. Nigel, we struck gold with this draw. Has it gone our way?
I think so. Again, just like the League Cup, I think we couldn't have got a better draw. I mean, Paris Saint-Germain, of course, that's going to be tough, but this is what we're in the Champions League for, right? To play these teams, For me, the last couple, 2 or 3 teams, it feels a little bit like a Europa League draw. Playing Bodo again, playing Frankfurt. Monaco would be nice because we'll be playing, we'll be against Eric Dyer, so that'd be nice. But I think we win our home games, get a couple of draws. I think we qualify.
Love it. That's what we like to say. Feeling confident. I mean, we're going to come up against Travis's friend Eric Dyer. He certainly doesn't slate on every single podcast.
I can't believe he's just mentioned Eric Dyer. That's a big no, Nigel. I won't go any further because I don't want to upset Harry. But
Travis wants to have Eric Dyer's babies. I can sense it.
Absolutely. I think he's the one who, advocated for his Ashes to be inside the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and we'll blame you for that, Travis. But Matt, I'll come to you. Who are you most looking forward to playing?
I don't know if you look forward to playing people in Champions League, but I will say I'm comforted in the fact that we beat Bodo Glimt twice or drew them once and then beat them. No, we beat them twice last year in the semis of Europa League. Beat Frankfurt in one of, got to give him credit, Ange's best games was the Frankfurt game there. Dortmund, look, the last year and a half has been a little iffy for Dortmund, to be honest. They were down in 10th in the Bundesliga table mid-season last year. They swapped coaches. Their defense still hasn't figured it out. They're giving up a bunch of goals right now and we don't have to face them at that yellow wall, the famed yellow wall of Dortmund. And PSG, we got to have, I mean, I know it's at PSG and not a neutral site like it was back in August, but gives me a little bit of faith that we were up 2-0 on them at one point in that game. So I was looking over some, I can't remember who put it up there now, but there was like power rankings of like the easiest draw to the hardest draw. We had, I think by their estimation, the third easiest draw in pool play. So, you don't want to take any of them lightly because they're all Champions League teams and they all earned their way here. But we also avoided having to fly to like Kazakhstan. So, there's a bonus there. We don't have that much, huge travel.
Oh, that's a really good point. There's not much traveling. I hadn't even given that thought.
I mean, Bodo is, but we did it last year with
4 hours, maybe 5 hours. There's no massive traveling. You're right, Kazakhstan, where it's a 7-hour flight and a 4-hour time difference or whatever it is. No, you know what? That's really important. That's a really, really good point Matt makes. Really good point. My only regret is that Villarreal isn't away, because the Villarreal stadium is about 2 3/4 hours away from here. And if I was around, I would absolutely go. I mean, it's like 45 minutes or so north of Valencia for anybody who is looking at it. I've been there. I watched Celtic play in a Champions League game there. It's a lovely little stadium. They play in yellow. They call them the Yellow Submarine. They're friendly. It's a great place to watch football. But they are a good side. But at home, we should have enough to beat them at home. I mean, we really should. Same with Copenhagen. I mean, they're in the Champions League every year. They're never a bad side. But if you can't beat Copenhagen, you shouldn't be in the competition.
No, it's so true. Absolutely true. I mean, the Bodo Glimt one's going to be interesting because we play them, if I had to guess, about December, January, probably. So it's going to be bitter. Very bitter in the Arctic Circle.
Is it? Yeah. Would it be colder for that game than it was for the semifinals in March when there was still snow on the ground? Like, it was pretty cold in those games.
It was. It makes it unique about going there, I suppose. But Nige, come back to you. In this group, I like to be optimistic. Ian talks about top 16, but Nige, do you think that top 8 is achievable with the group we've got?
I don't know about top 8. I think, top 16 is, I think, realistic. Top 8 for me is just asking a bit too much of this current squad. Don't get me wrong. Bring 2 or 3 in, then we might have a different story. But currently, with the squad we have, I say top 16. Get a few more in, then maybe top 8's a possibility.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you. Travis, I'll come to you. What's achievable in this league phase? Is it, as Nige says, top 16, get a couple of players in, it could be different, or do you are more ambitious and go, let's get in the top 8?
What are we talking about, Champions League or
Champions League phase?
Champions League. Get through to the knockout phase. I think it'd be interesting to obviously visit Bodo Glimt again. Obviously, knocking them out in the semi-final. I thought they had a really, really good run, Bodo Glimt, to be fair. But yeah, I think we need to be pushing for the knockout stages and further with the quads, with the squad's depth at this moment in time. But hopefully that improves. We will really go the distance this year. Okay,
thank you, Travis. I'll do circle and come back to you now. If you could have chosen, again, a pure hypothetical, we have no control over, and it would have been pre-draw, this question would have been better. But would you prefer to face the big giants like a PSG, who we have got, or the smaller teams? How do you view that? Are you one of those that you want to play the big teams, to remember the occasion, or just get through and play the small teams, your Copenhagen, just Slavia Prague as an example?
I think the more you look at it, these early stages are the hors d'oeuvre before the main event. I'm so happy to be playing these little teams now, because when it comes to the knockout stages, the Paris Saint-Germains, the Real Madrid, the Bayern Munichs, the Barcelonas, the Liverpools, Manchester Cities, Chelsea, Arsenal, they will all be there. and then that's when you want to be playing. That's absolutely when you want to be playing. So yeah, get the points on the board. Actually, with that draw, there's no reason why we can't make top 8. There really isn't, because other draws will be more difficult, where more teams should take more points off each other. So yeah, if given a fair wind, we could get into top 8 and do it. But look, bottom line, if we give me 12th place now, I'll take it and hopefully get a decent draw in the playoff round, and then go in with the big boys into the last 16. But yeah, look, it would be great because we all love those big European nights, and particularly old people like me that have seen a lot of big European nights at Tottenham. But the way the game is structured now, because remember, it's not that long ago where it was just a straight draw. It was the first round, second round, like the Carabao Cup. Two legs. If you got knocked out in the first round of the European Cup, you got knocked out in the first round of the European Cup. This game gives you 8 games, significant amount of money, a lot of kudos, a lot of exposure. So yeah, play those games now, get the points on the board, and then let's come February, March, whenever it starts again. Let's go. Let's go with the real boys. And of course, there's another transfer window in January for us to fail to sign players after courting them for a month. So yeah, no, I'm so happy with that draw. It's unreal.
100%. Feel the same way as you, Ian. Thank you very much for that. And the last question before we do finally move on to Bournemouth, I'll give to you, Matt. Are you looking forward to hearing the Champions League music under the lights at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium again?
Of course. I mean, how could we not? Let's just hope we play the correct music, unlike some of our Premier League mates did last year. But I mean, it's hard not to like this draw. I think there's a good mix between getting Dortmund and PSG, getting a little bit of a taste of the quote unquote bigger, expected to be their group, and then teams that we can handle. I don't know that. I think I'd be fine with going for top 16 and just making it through rather than pushing for top 8 if that meant it costs us, league games. But hey, if we get, if things fall the right way for us, it's possible. We need a couple more guys to do it though, for sure. But I'll take top 16 and move on and see where the chips fall from there.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you so much for that, Matt. We now move on to Bournemouth. Ian, how do you feel going into this game? Can we make it 3 wins from 3?
Why not? I mean, seriously, why not? They're never an easy game. I've never seen us play an easy game against Bournemouth. But I remember Mourinho's first home game. We'd beaten West Ham away the previous week and been excellent. We were 3-0 up against Bournemouth. Dele Alli was one of Dele Alli's absolutely, totally unplayable games, and it was 3-2. And I can't remember who it was. It was I can't remember. One of the centre halves made an absolute last ditch tackle to keep us in it. Otherwise, it would have been 3-3. So it will be difficult. Semenyo is obviously a player and a half, but I think there's a confidence. I think there's an organisation going through the club at the moment. I would expect us to win. They gave Liverpool a hard time, so I'm sure Thomas Frank will be stressing that. Don't think that just because you won 2 games, this is a pushover. They're not. They nearly came back and beat Liverpool. They can beat Liverpool, they can beat you, so you need to be at your best. Be interesting what side he plays. I need to give more thought to what he might do, whether he rotates again. But I'm really confident we'll make it 3 out of 3, and be absolutely right there at the top of the table.
Lovely. That's what we like. Love that confidence. Thank you, Ian. Nige, are you confident going into this game that we can get the result? Of course, no, it'll be tough. We know that.
Yeah, absolutely. We're at home. I've got to be honest. I'm loving the way Tottenham are playing. I know it's early on in the season, but listen, last season for me, my first season on YouTube was incredibly tough. Lots of defeats. It was hard talking about Tottenham. I think I probably did come across as very negative at times. I want to be positive, and I think we're playing good football. I love Thomas Frank. I love the way he sets up his teams. I love the way Sar's playing in that 10. I just don't see how we lose. It's going to be interesting because all three games are different. The opening game against Burnley, we're never really going to cause us any problems. We're always going to sit back and defend. Then, of course, City at the weekend, totally different game. And Bournemouth again, they're a side that's not going to sit back. They're going to attack. And I think they will cause us problems, but I'd expect us to win. And I want us to go full strength because there's the international break after. So let's go full strength. Let's win the game. And like Ian said, let's be at the top of the league.
That's what we love about top of the league, and long may it continue. That's why I want the club to look at it and go, what can we do to keep being competitive? What can we do to add to the squad rather than, Frank, you don't need anything, 2 wins out of 2, or what could be 3 wins out of 3 on Saturday. We just know that's the way they look at it. But Nige, I'm going to stick with you if you don't mind. You're absolutely right, I think, in what you say. Who do you think in particular can hurt us from Bournemouth? Who are their danger men for you?
Well, Semenyo would be the main one, wouldn't he? I like their striker as well. I forgot his name now. It's gone totally out of my head.
Nilsson.
But I think, yeah, that's the one. I think they're dangerous up front. I'm not sure whether Kluivert's fit. But yeah, I think in their forward areas, I think will be the main problems for Spurs. Defensively, obviously they've lost a lot of defenders. So listen, I think it's gonna be an interesting game. I think their game against Liverpool maybe didn't show the best of Liverpool because Liverpool defensively this season are a concern for me. I think they're going to concede a lot of goals. I think we'll be a lot more solid than maybe Liverpool were. Liverpool were quite open against Bournemouth. I see us winning the game. I think Semenyo will be the main problem, but I don't see how we lose. Maybe I'm being overconfident, but currently with the way we're playing, I don't see how we lose. And with Polinia sat in there, I absolutely love Polinia. What a player.
Absolutely is. Great signing. Thank you, Nige. Matt, how can we hurt Bournemouth? To flip the question, anyone in particular you think can cause them problems, or any area of the pitch that we can target Bournemouth?
I mean, I think Kudus is going to be controlling things going forward. I think that side of the pitch has to run through him. I do think it's interesting that over the last 6 meetings with Bournemouth, Tottenham have won 3 of them. We've drawn once, even though there's been a variety of different managers over that time. And more interestingly to me is that Thomas Frank met Bournemouth 10 times when he was at Brentford. He's won 7 of those and drawn twice.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Even when they were on level, because I was curious, what has he done when they've been basically on level playing fields? Because Brentford and Bournemouth both mid-table sides. He's only lost once to them. So not to get overconfident, because again, last year we did have a problem where the games before international breaks were not good for us. We lost a bunch of those. So got to stay focused for another week. But I do think that Thomas Frank will have the right setup to spot their weaknesses, put us in a good spot to counter. I don't know if we let them come at us and then kind of counter that a little bit. I don't know that we're going to try to out-position them, at least to start. We may take their legs out by just letting them dribble around and then launch counters. But it does feel comforting that Frank is 7-2-1 against them in his previous 10 meetings.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's now go to our predicted Tottenham starting 11s then. And I'll kick it off while I let you all think. I think that's only fair. So for me, I think pretty much the same, if not the same completely, as we played against Man City. So I think it will be Vicario in goal, Porro right back, Spence left back, and then Van der Ven, Romero as centre backs. I think midfield 3 has to stay the same. I think it will stay the same. Paulinho, Bentancur, and Sarr. I think he'll probably stick with that same formation of like a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3 if you like. Probably changes, isn't it? When you haven't got the ball, it's a 4-3-3. When you haven't, it's a 4-2-3-1. I think Kudus be on that right, Johnson on the left, and Richarlison down the middle. That's what I think he'll go with. And that's probably what I would go with as well. So, I don't think there's too much change in that. Ian, I'll come to you first. I can tell you've been thinking deep in thought. What is your predicted Tottenham 11 you think Frank will go with?
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think he'll start with the same team he started on last Saturday with at City. First of all, it won. Secondly, there's an international break coming up. Thirdly, I don't think that Bournemouth offer anything that makes you say, I've got to do something different to counter Bournemouth. So I think it will be genuinely a 4-3-3 with the same team that played Bournemouth, that played City. There's always the temptation. Okay, shall I put Graham Bergvall in to start? But why? I mean, why? You can bring them on, but why would you start? And what was interesting, I thought Burnley, we'd be wary because they're so good defensively that we wouldn't go at them too much because the danger of getting picked off. And I'm thinking before the game, if we get 1-0, it'd be great. But we didn't. We attacked them, and I think we'll go at Bournemouth as well. I think say, come on, can you hold us? We're better than you. There's interesting match stats, really interesting. Didn't know that. So I think we'll go with the same team, and I think it'll be a similar result to the one we had at against Burnley. I'll be looking at something like 3-0 Tottenham.
Lovely. Hope you're absolutely right with that. Nigel, what's your predicted Tottenham starting 11 you think Frank will go with? Anything you'd change?
No, I'd go exactly the same as you guys. I would play exactly the same side. The only thing I can think is maybe Frank might rest one of the midfielders. I don't think he's going to change all of them. I think maybe a Bergvall may come in for a Sarr. I wouldn't do that. I personally play the same side, but it's the only thing I could see maybe being slightly different. But for me, it's all about getting the victory. Like we said, international break afterwards, so there's no excuse to rest players. Play your strongest team, win the game, and we can bring players off the bench if we need to later on.
100% agree with you. I mean, that's the team I go with. When you mentioned it, I think it's a possibility Bergvall could start. I think probably be Facade. I think you want to take the two defensive bodies of Bentancur and Paulinho. So you make a good point. Thank you very much, Nige. Matt, you're predicted Tottenham 11 you think you'll see then. Anything different?
No, I don't think so. I mean, Sarr is a good point because if you look at the minutes played already, Sarr is among the leaders. Right up there with Vicario and Van de Ven and Romero, so maybe give him a little bit of a break. But I think you could talk about that at maybe the hour mark. Let him play the first hour, see how things go, and then bring on changes of pace in the wings or midfield with Tell or Odebear or I think we see Solanke come on late, but I think Richarlison starts. He's been in too good a form to to swap him out. And I really like what Kudus and Richarlison, the pairing of those two, what they're bringing to the attack. They seem to be on the same page almost every trip down the field. So yeah, I would say you go with the same one you rolled out against Man City that worked. And then if you need to make some changes in the second half, there's some guys you can bring in that don't change the system or your tactics too much, and you just get fresh legs on the pitch.
No, 100%. Thank you very much, Matt, for that. Let's get into score predictions and predicted scorers then before we talk about change for Tottenham a little bit and their planned protest for this game. Matt, I'll stick with you if you don't mind. Can I get your score prediction for this game and who you think will score from both sides, if you think both sides will score?
I think it's going to be 2-0 Tottenham. I'll go with Richie scoring one and Brennan Johnson scoring the other because he just tends to be in the right spot at the right time on some of those crosses. If I would have to give Bournemouth a goal, I would say probably Semenyo probably gets it for them. He seems their main danger man up front.
Thank you very much. Great start. A Tottenham win, making it 3 wins out of 3, 9 points out of 9, and a clean sheet. Lovely. Great way to start. Nige, your score prediction and scorers, please.
I'm going to go for a 3-1 Spurs victory. Richarlison, I think Kudus will score his first goal, and of course Brennan Johnson. That's what he does.
Lovely stuff. Brennan doing what he does best, putting the ball in the back of the net. Thank you, Nige. Ian.
I was going to say the same 3-0 I said earlier. But yeah, I think it's time Kudos got a goal. One for Rishi, one for Brennan. 3-0.
Lovely. And yeah, let's quickly touch on the change to Tottenham protest then that is happening. Do you support change for Tottenham and the protest planned this weekend? What do you make of it? Ian.
Very well. No, I know you're asking me. I don't want to be too rude. Read the room, guys. I mean, seriously, read the room. We could play this game, making a signing, maybe even two. Who knows? Maybe nothing will happen. We might win this game and go top of the league with 3 wins from 3, with a European trophy. And you're out there screaming Levy out. I mean, get a fucking grip of yourselves. If we don't get any signings by Monday, and we lose to Bournemouth, and you say we can't advance under this leadership, I get that, but it's almost like their agenda is so predetermined and so myopic. They're absolutely and utterly incapable of reading the room. There might be a point I'll join them, because the current leadership of the club is far from perfect. It's absolutely far from perfect. But it's no good saying change for Tottenham. You have to come up and say, this is the ownership model. These are the people we want to own the club, and this is why. But you don't do it when you're potentially top of the league and are perhaps about to spend, 120, 130 million in the next 3 days.
Can I play devil's advocate?
Sorry, yeah, please, absolutely. I think they look ridiculous.
Yeah, I think you make some really good points, and I'm not even disagreeing with you necessarily. I'm just going to put the point across that they would. I don't know if they would put this point across. I perhaps think they could. Do you think that there's a value in doing it before the window closes to push the club to do more? Because there's been times where there's been protest planned and we've signed a big player before, or like we've sacked a manager just before. Can it have that trigger effect to make Tottenham do more in the window rather than wait until the window closes and it's too late to do anything about this current window?
I agree, and I genuinely think that there's been times when the "we want Levy out" shouts around the stadium has led to him and the board leaping into action to perhaps doing more than they might have done. And there is a time and a place for that, and I couldn't agree with that more. But after 2 wins in 2 games, perhaps 3 wins from 3 games, with money we think is because we're chasing good players. We're not chasing dross. We're chasing really good players. With a European trophy in the cabinet, I personally think they look ridiculous. And the problem is that maybe 6 months down the line, when there is a real need for change for Tottenham, people are saying, "Oh, it's that bunch of wankers again." Because I've seen the occasional protest when I've been at the ground, and there's 2 men and a dog, and they do look ridiculous. They tried it against Burnley, and there was a handful of people there. They had a banner. I think people just laughed at them, and they put the banner away and went home. Seriously, read the room, and pick your moments. And this is what this collective myopia is. They're so obsessed with Levy out that they're not looking at the bigger picture of the football club and where it's going. Levy made that comment about when he was with Venkateshan about wanting to win the Champions League and wanting to win the Premier League. That's PR inspired. The PR, he doesn't get up on the stage in front of a camera and suddenly comes out with, "I want to win the Premier League" and what have you. They've done that with a view. We are being really serious, but it's not going to come about instantly. We were never going to spend £500 million this window, but we are spending money. We are looking at better quality players than we've, in my view, than we've looked at previously. We've got a winning manager in who's doing a really good job so far, and I think we'll get better. This is just not the time. That time might come, but now, no, not for me. I just think they look faintly ridiculous.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, I always ask you to be honest, and I think you put some good points across. Thank you, Ian, for that. Nigel, come to you. Thoughts on the work of change for Tottenham generally in this protest ahead of the game? How do you view it personally?
This is it's such a difficult one because I was at the protests for the Southampton game when they got a large swell of numbers, and I thought it was a really good protest. I think I am very much in the same position now. I think this isn't the time to do it. I think if you've arranged one for the Burnley game and you didn't have a good show, for me to arrange one at the last minute, it feels like a bit of a last minute arrangement. It was only done a couple of days ago. To expect big numbers again is really difficult because I know a lot of people are like, it's just too soon. I've got other arrangements. I can't get there. For me, I would have waited till the window shut, arrange a date. Next home game after the international break. It gives a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks for people then to arrange. I just feel it's a bit rushed. And I get it that James for Tottenham want to be consistent. And I totally get that. So turn up every home game. I get it. I'm just concerned they're not going to get the numbers. And like Ian said, people will end up just laughing and just walking past. And I don't want that because I think it's a really good cause.
No.
But
I don't want
me,
to
I would have waited.
either. That's the point. I think Harry made a really good point about that kind of change, that kind of movement for change keeps the board on their toes. I like that. But you can't be the subject of ridicule either, because that actually lets the board off the hook. That makes it easier for the board when people say, oh, look at those twats, Tottenham for change. Yeah, when look, you're walking towards the most fantastic stadium in Europe with a team that's just won a European trophy. That's maybe getting 2 or 3 big signings over the line. I mean, how would that trophy look on that protest look on Monday if we beat Bournemouth 3-0 with Richarlison, Kudos and Johnson scoring the goals when we're top of the league because Arsenal draw with Liverpool, and we signed Silvinho, Nathan Ake, and Simmons, and they're protesting change for Tottenham. None of that may happen. We may get beat by Bournemouth and sign nobody. Then the next home game, then you've got a point.
Good points all round. Good points all round. Thank you. Matt, can I bring you in on this conversation and get your thoughts? Talking about change for Tottenham, but also Levy and Enoch. What is the problem for you? Is it a bit of both?
It's a bit like I like the idea of protesting to keep people on their toes and let them know that you're not happy, but I agree with everything you all are saying. Is it like this feels like a odd time to do it, coming off the magical run through Europa and an easy Champions League draw, and could be top of the table. But my biggest thing is that there's videos that surface of all these folks hanging out at the stadium after the game ends and eating the food and drinking the beer. Okay, fine, you're hungry and you're thirsty, but that money is going to the same guy you're complaining isn't doing enough with the money. So it takes a little bit of of the sting out of the protest if I know you're going to go give me the money that I want from you 2 hours from now, right? But I would wait. I mean, I get the importance of doing it before the transfer window closes, but it is just also my other concern is, what if those transfers aren't done yet and those guys are looking for reasons not to come, and then you have a fan protest and it looks unsettled, and that not everybody's pulling in the same direction, and there's some, do I really want to go to a team that on the field looks good and looks like it's going in the right direction, but the fans aren't happy? What happens if we screw up? Am I going to be whatnot? So I would personally wait till after the international break, but I'm in the States, so I'm not coming to the protest anyway, but I do like their idea of keeping Enoch and Levy on their toes and not saying, hey, thanks for the trophy, but we're still not satisfied. Like, it's a process, and they're just kind of nudging
Matt,
them along.
can I put this to you?
Yes.
And I'm asking you as much because I don't know quite how sports fans in America react, because you have franchise systems and what have you, that a football team that's playing in, I'm talking about American football now, that's playing in Los Angeles could suddenly get moved to Milwaukee or whatever. And
Yeah.
I mean, there was talk of us moving into the Olympic Stadium in the East. I don't know how well. Have you been to London?
I will be there in 2 months actually for a work trip.
Okay. We were looking at
actually
building.
The week I'm hoping that I can score some tickets, because the week that I'm there is the third Champions League game. So depending on if it's home or away,
a ticket. You'll get a ticket. The point I was making though is that there were protests at the thought that we would move from Tottenham in North London approximately 5 miles or so east to what was the Olympic Stadium, which is West Ham territory.
Right.
That would have been, that's how insular and territorial football is in this country. In terms of in terms of protest and what have you. As I say, I've sort of drifted away a little bit from where what I was going to say, but
I think American fans don't protest owners like British fans do, because for 2 reasons. One, they're not neighborhood teams to us, right? Like, I live about 2.5 hours from where the Kansas City Chiefs, from Kansas City, right? Kansas City Chiefs are there. There's no other NFL team within 3.5 hours of them. So, partly because the U.S. You'd never get that gap in the U.K. Obviously, U.S. is bigger, but I mean, scaled for size, you still wouldn't get that gap. So it's almost like, what can we do about things, because we don't feel like we have a stake in it. The only people that actually have a stake in their team here are Green Bay Packers fans who actually own the team. The fans of the Packers actually own the team through stocks and whatnot. But that's the only that's the only team that has like a neighborhood stake to it. But would I enjoy protesting team owners? Yes, because there's a lot of them who, especially in my favorite sport of baseball, who just get money and sit on it, and they're not required to spend anything. And there's all sorts of things in place to make sure that the highest spending teams are bringing up the bottom spending teams, and everybody has, but they never require them to spend. So I think this year there's been 11 separate baseball teams out of the 30 in Major League Baseball who have had fan protests telling the owner to sell the team. But that's the most amount of fan protests I can remember seeing.
And this fan protest change for Tottenham is about getting Enoch and Levy to sell up. My issue is, I put this to all my, Enoch out friends and what have you, who is buying it. Got to find me an owner, because not everybody would be an acceptable owner. I mean, for example, there have been talks with the Amanda Staveley, the woman who was at Newcastle, who has I think a Saudi husband, who brought the owners into Newcastle, who's now looking for another project, and she's apparently, we hear, been talking to a Qatari syndicate to come in and buy Tottenham. Now, a lot of Jewish supporters will find the idea of Qataris totally unacceptable, because it's the Qataris that have actually been harboring, maybe something you know as well. The Qataris have been harboring and financing Hamas. So are these the kind of people that we want owning Tottenham? For non-Jewish supporters, that might not be an issue. But for Jewish supporters, and there's a decent number of us, not masses, but maybe 15%, something like that, it would be a massive issue. So, you know, so many, and you see so many foreign owners have taken over clubs, and they have made an absolute haulage of it. So and I have this. Brian Dager was one of the big, you know, mouthpieces of the Levy Out campaign. Is a really good friend of mine because we have some brilliant discussions. But I've always said to Brian, come up with another plan, come up with another owner. I'm all ears. But there's not going to be fan ownership. You know, it is a business at the end of the day, and whether they want 2 billion, 3 billion, 4 billion, there aren't a lot of small shareholders that have that kind of money that can buy the club. You see, Tom, I don't know which Tom that is. I'd love Qatari Investment Group. Well, you know, as I say, that's a controversial view. It depends on who they are and what they represent and who they represent. But there'll be bloody protests about that. That'll put your little Tottenham for Change. I call them the yellow and purple panty wetters. Put them to shame in terms of protest. Depending upon who these people are.
I'll end with one thing, and I'll support Change for Tottenham. A lot of things they've done. I think you all make good points though tonight. What I will say is, I get the point, right? To not spend money inside the stadium. In terms of the only point I do support of that is supporting local businesses. But for me, I don't think we should get to a point where you tell people what they should be eating and drinking inside the stadium or buying Spurs kits. That for me just doesn't sit right for me, because, you know, this doesn't matter, in my opinion, about the owners or the chairman of the board, anything like that. I love my club. I'm going to buy the merchandise. I'm going to buy the food. I'm going to buy the drink. I always think about supporting local businesses. I don't think about how to harm Levy. My first thought is about the local businesses. And then it's like, how can I support Tottenham? I can't get my head around. You get to a point where there's seriously people suggesting right now this week on social media, you just buy nothing Tottenham, at all, or you buy something that's illegal or completely dodgy. I know there's obviously a growth of kits, etc. I don't get too much into that, but I don't think we should get somewhere where you're seen as vile or, I don't know, some kind of painting an enemy if you're buying things at Tottenham. I just don't know. Maybe I'm looking too much into it. I don't think you should get to a point where you're telling people where they should buy their food, what they should drink, how much they should spend, whether they should have a season ticket or not. It's like the whole thing with going to games. Okay, have your say and, have your opinion. You don't want people to go to the game or, but for me, it should be completely up to the individual. It's a free country. It's a football club. You pay your money. You should decide what you do. That's just how I view. However, I do broadly support Change for Tottenham. I think pressure on any owners or board, good or bad job, is positive. Anyone got any final comments before we end today's podcast?
Oh, you're on mute. Nige, you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. I agree with everything you said, Harry. All I will say is, as Tottenham fans, there will always be something for us to argue about. We never get on, do we? But it is what it is. It is what it is.
Absolutely, that kind of wraps up really nicely. Thank you to everyone who's listened live on YouTube. If you've had, please do like and subscribe. Please let us know as well anything you want to say or get in touch about. But listen on a podcast platform, please just drop us a follow and a 5-star review and do my favorite thing and let you know, let me know, should I say, where you've listened from and what time of the day it is. I always find it interesting to hear different people around the world where they're listening from. So please do get in touch and, stay tuned, because we've got a lot of content coming for you from now until deadline day, and of course throughout the season. But this is the busiest time of year with the transfer window still open, the season underway, draws for cup competitions here, there, and everywhere. I want to thank Travis, who had to jump earlier. He had to leave. That's absolutely fine. So make sure you check him out on all socials at @officialcaster. And now let's see if you can find these guys across social media. Firstly, Matt, very solid debut from you. Loved your stats and insights you provided. A lot of things that I didn't know, like Thomas Frank's record against Bournemouth. Really do appreciate that. It's going to stick with me. Where can people find you on the socials?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. It was a joy to come on. I am on Twitter and Blue Sky at The Salesman. That's TheSelzman. And watch out for my tweets about the match previews Substack that I'm cooking up. Got one up there about this week's games. It's a free preview because we're leading into an international break. But yeah, that's the main places to find me.
Lovely stuff. Thank you so much, Matt. And Nige, where can people find you on the socials?
I am on Twitter and also TikTok and of course YouTube. I have a YouTube show every morning, breakfast with pure COYS, 8:30 to 9:30. So pop on in, say hi. Even if the thing I love about it is even when there's nothing to talk about, literally the chat just keep you going. So yeah, come along, say hi, and yeah, it'd be good to see you.
Lovely stuff. Go. It sounds absolutely fantastic. I'll make sure I'll tune in tomorrow. Thank you very much, Nige. And Ian as well. Thank you. Where can people find you on the socials?
Football people with nothing to talk about, finding things to talk about, Nige. Whoever would have thought it? Yeah, just a couple of comments on the show, Harry. Well done. I think I hosted a really, really interesting discussion tonight, so well done. Yeah, on Twitter or X, whatever they call it, at Shaggy1712. If you're not following me, do. I'll always follow Spurs Supporters Back. I'm co-founder with Adrian of Spurs Diehards. Award-winning show. I love saying that. Award-winning show. We go out on Tuesdays, Fridays, and Sundays at 10 p.m. My show is. I've got it's just come up on my phone, Matt. So I'll follow you back. I promised you. So yeah, and I host a show on Sunday nights. So I will be doing a show on this Sunday at 10, talking about the Bournemouth game. You're also doing we ought to talk about this, Harry, whether we can merge or swap guests at doing different bits with the transfer deadline show. I got a feeling Monday's going to be a wild day, not just for us. I think there's a lot of clubs still looking to move a lot of players around. And I think we will be busy, and I think other clubs will be busy. So we should maybe talk about that. Yeah, we all compete, but anybody who knows the YouTube community, we're all mates. We all run into each other and chat to each other and are friends with each other. And we need to find the best way of making the best shows possible. So I'll tell you what, when I'm done here, I am off to watch Legia Warsaw against Hibernia. Hibs have won, it looks like 2-3, 90 plus 7. It's 5, aggregate 4-4. I'm going to watch the extra time with that. So looks like being a really good game. But yeah, because we all love our football. The bottom line, guys, whatever we think, whatever we agree on, whatever we disagree on, we all love football and we all love our Spurs.
Exactly. We all love Tottenham. It's about delivering for the people. 100%. We'll be in contact with you about that, Ian. Thank you. Thank you to everyone, as I said, for listening. Please, subscribe, follow all these guys here, and check out my own stuff. Got a lot of stuff coming out, several videos and shorts today. Obviously, had this podcast, so it's quite a lot from now till deadline day. I think I've got already 4 scheduled for tomorrow. Go on in.
Just a couple of comments. I just try and keep my eye on the chat about the board protest at the Old Firm game. Celtic play Rangers on it's at Ibrox. Rangers play Celtic, and both teams are furious with their boards. Neither have got into the Champions League, although realistically, I think the Europa League is the right level for them. Both had a really good chance, and both absolutely blew it. I mean, they're talking, calling the game El Crapico, because it could be the worst Old Firm game in history. 2 really poor sides with 2 poor boards of directors mismanaging their teams into oblivion. I live in Glasgow, and I follow the green side of in Celtic, and to be honest with you, it's shameful how that club's been allowed, with everything that's got in the wider Irish diaspora throughout the world, and the money that it brings in, and the profits, the money they got in the bank, and they've not invested in players in order to get into the Champions League. Shameful. Sorry, Harry. Another rant over.
No, you're fine. Thank you.
Just the comments in the chat. The comments in the chat were really interesting.
Right, let me get through it. I want you to watch the extra time now. I don't want you to miss it. Yeah, I really appreciate it coming on. So thank you.
Yeah, it's okay.
No, it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's going into extra time.
No worries. I'll jump in just a sec. So if you follow all these guys across all socials, if you want to follow me, you can at Harry Scarfe too. Should be a lot of content coming at the channel, on podcast platforms, in particular on the YouTube channel at Harry Scarfe. So if you can check that out, that mean a lot. But as I said, please do follow all these guys. keep the faith, keep being positive. Let's hope we win on Saturday and go top of the league. For now, a massive come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.